G'day, another video. I'm going to start piecing one together anyway. We're back in the workshop today, but I got some goodies. I'll show you after the intro. Oh, there's the card trailer I flipped too. I bent the drawbar on it. We're going to put some Daihatsu back in the Daihatsu. Okay, so down in the workshop, it's Saturday, because I don't have a way to unload this at my house. What that is a parts engine block. It is a 6.2 diesel. Just lovely. Picked it up $500. Sold as a rebuilder. I asked the old mate and said, look, if you had it apart, what's the crank like? And he goes, I've got no fucking idea. So he wanted like 700 for it, and I said, well, I'll give you 500 because I don't know anything about it. It rolls over really easy. The bores are good. It's still got stock pistons in it. I've got to do a little bit of research because I think it might be a military engine. I'll have to double check it though. The beginning of the engine number starts with UHH, which I think is a designation for like Humvee or CUCV, which was the military C20 or K20 four-drive trucks. CUCVs they call it, which is pretty funny. So potentially this could be, if it's a military block, it's a J block, which is apparently the good one to build. But I only want the crank out of it. But potentially, maybe I'll build a power block for the old GMC. But they come with both heads, missing the injectors, the intake, a whole bunch of other miscellaneous parts. Not sure why the heads are off it, whether it's just done head gaskets or something. I don't really see any damage to the pistons or anything silly like that. It has been sitting. Old mate sold it because he reckons he couldn't get parts for it. Which they are hard to find in Australia, yes, but it's not impossible. Yeah. It was also offered manual because we've got a spigot bush in the back, so if it is a military engine and it was manual, it's probably a CUCV that it come out of, because I think they were manual, but all Humvees are auto. See if I can roll it over. I roll it over at his house. Come on, big girl. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So it rolls over relatively easy. Not like it's dragging anything. So I've got to get this off. My plan is to get it off, see if there's any oil in it, drain it, cut the oil filter open that's on it, pop the pan off it, and have a look at the crank, because hopefully I've got at least a good rod and a good crank. Also, if it's a military block, these are the turbo water fittings, or that's the water fitting for the turbo. They're oil feed and returns for the turbo. So I think from memory, from the research I've done, the turbo blocks have got forged cranks in them. Maybe. I don't know enough about this stuff, but all I know is this might have a good crank in it, and I need the crank, so it's coming out. Anyway, I got to pick this thing off the back of the ute. I got to find a chain. Oh, we're going to use postman cutter too. I spent like the last week setting it up. So this is the Binzel Easy Track system. That's our original player's bed. I just pulled the boom arm off it. I built a setup to house the Easy Track setup on our tank. It looks big because they sent us the wrong one. Our tank's a 12 by 2400. They sent us a 1500 by 3 meter player's track or player's unit, as you can see by there. So potentially we might look at putting a bigger tank on it later, but CNC players capabilities once again, and we're going up to a bigger power unit, so we should be able to easily cut 30mm plate on the players, which would be pretty cool. It also does still have the oxy head capabilities like the old one, but whatever. Can't wait to get into that. I've got to pick the players unit up Monday and finish fitting it, and then cut some shit. Anywho, I'm going to find a chain, get that off the back of the ute, get the oil that's in it, if it has any, drained out of it, and pop the sump off it. And we'll have a bow peep in there together. Oh, it's also got an injector pump, which is fucking cool. So if I need to build one, I can. It's a later model one, as denoted by the threads for the injectors. Where are you? Now you can sort of see in there. So the early ones were a coarse thread, the later ones were a fine thread, and then the 6.5s are all fine thread as well. So this is a fine thread. Also it's black block, black rock covers, not, oh no, blue block, blue rock covers, where the early ones were black. Anywho, I'm pretty pumped up, because potentially the GMC might be running fairly quickly. Anyway, I've got to go find some stuff. Alright, I've got her over here. I had to sort of stabilise it a little bit to try and get it to drain, and look at the sludge coming out of it. A lot of water out of it too, which is mildly worrying, but in theory all the rods are still bolted to the crank, so the crank journals won't be rusted. I'm going to let that drip for a little while because it's really thick. You can see the balls are super glazed in it, so maybe that's why it's in bits. Old mate, the previous owner was going to do something about it, and then thought she was all too hard because every ball's glazed on it. They're all fucking smooth and look like a mirror, which doesn't help. There's a couple of scores in a few of them as well. Nothing a good hone. You'd probably take this out 10, 20 thou and you'd be all over it. Let's see if I can find some tools. I know where the tools are, they're in the fair lane, but I don't want to walk all the way out the front to get the fucking fair lane to get the tools. I want to chisel that oil filter off and then cut it open and see if there's any surprises in there that I don't want to see. Oh, I still haven't fixed the Hilux yet either. This is my temporary mirror mount. Yep, good enough. And then that's one of the dome face mirrors we use on the rock crawlers. Typically it's got the big pipe cage that goes around them to protect them. I'll get to that. It's a door and a guard. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can find a hammer and chisel. There's a hammer over there, but I need a cold chisel. Right, got the filter apart. I just linished the bevel off it, and it's been in there so long, the filter casing just fell apart when I pulled it out. But good news is, if you're looking in the pleats, I don't see no metal. That's good. If I want to do the fine metal, you've got to cut a section of this out and then like degrease it and squeeze it, but I'm just looking for like big pieces like out of the filter of the current 6.2 I own. She's looking good, and then the oil is very sludgy, so might be time to pop the sump off. Alright, so continuing on with the disassembly. It's actually coming apart really easy. Harmonic balancer just slipped off with a pry bar, didn't even have to put a puller on it. Someone's definitely been in it before because there's RTV fucking everywhere. So that's good. That whole water pump case was full of RTV as well. The only original gasket is actually the timing case to the block gasket, but they RTV'd that anyway. There's still the sump gasket on it, and they RTV'd that as well. The timing chain was super loose, so that's never been played with. There is a timing gear upgrade you can get for this. I'll probably look at that. Similar setup to the Fairlane. Just go to a geared setup, so I never have to worry about it again. I'm about to go and get a bit of timber because I can't get all the oil out of it because it's like mud. Flip it upside down, rip the sump off it, and then start pulling the crank. But so far, everything's looking pretty good. Pretty usable, anyway. Not that I'm going to use any of this shit for now. Potentially, we might build a fucking boost motor later. But for now, I just want to get Ron Burgundy running. Oh, yeah, Ron Burgundy. Because it's as Burgundy as you fucking can get. Burgundy on the outside, Burgundy on the inside. So, we've got the GMC running for now, and If I find that it's too sluggish or I just want a little bit more power, I've got another engine, minus a crank, to make handle boost. So I'm going to see if I can roll this over gently. And one thing I did notice is this is maybe why it got pulled. So it's like a 350 Chev where it's got the starter motor bolts up. One bolt goes into the belly house and the other goes into the block, and that one doesn't exist anymore. Someone's tried to weld it back together. So potentially they just pulled the motor because they couldn't start it. Oh, look at all the RTB down here. What the fuck? Yeah, so that's not ideal. I'd have to do something about that. I'd probably look at cutting that off and then building a plate that made that bolted to here, pretty much, if I was going to use this engine block again. But, yeah. I'll try and flip this whore over. Alright, flipped over. Let's get this sump off, eh? What do we got here? Actually not too bad. Okay, what's it caught on? What are you caught on? Oh, the oil pickup would be what it's caught on. Yep, that looks like a 6.2. What do we got? Ooh, okay. We might be alright here. I don't even have any side to side. Oh yeah, there is a bit of side to side play. Oh baby, say less. Now I've got to, of course, pop the caps off and check it, but there's no super massive play. So good. Okay, and I get an oil pump because my oil. Oh, look at that. That's not ideal. Oh yeah, I did hear about that. You're supposed to tack them on so they don't do that. Yep, that can just sit there. Actually, no, fuck that. It can come off. Out of the road, dopey. Right, oil pump off because I need that. Actually, I might pop the cap off first, make sure there's no shit in it. Still get the original tag, so the bottom end hasn't been into. It's just been resealed, I guess. And then, oh, look at that sludge. Gross. Look at that rag. Just had water and shit in it, so the oil's gone all a bit funny. Flipping it upside down, it probably dropped all the lifters out, but it's got retainers, so that's all right. So, at 10 mil, I'll pop the lid off of that. We'll check out the pump because my pump is rooted. We'll start popping rod caps and main caps off. Yeah, it's looking good. I'm pretty happy. Pretty happy. Okay, got the oil pump cap off. Got a gear out. Still got the original machining marks in it. You can see obviously the striations where it's been rubbing up against each other. That's right. There's a couple of little check marks in it. That's fine. Even the housing's good. No big scores or anything in the housing. So we are good because the GMC's one, it's got a lot of really bad pitting on the gears. So that's probably what took the motor out. I think the previous owner said that it was only rebuilt a month before it done the rod bearing or got a rod knock. So I'm thinking it was installed and not primed properly, which hurt the pump, and then that metal went through everything because it wiped out. Like you got your oil pump, it then feeds the block, which feeds this main, and then those two rod bearings first, and those ones are the dead ones. So I'm thinking improperly priming is what took out that other motor, which is good. That saves me $400 on a new pump. I'll put that back together. Interestingly enough, no gasket on it. The other one was the same, so fair enough. I guess that's just the way GM does it. Non-gasketed oil pumps. I suppose it is technically submerged in a vat of oil. This hair's bugging the shit out of me. So it self-seals, but pretty happy. And we'll have a look at the sieve. I didn't really have a look at that. My one's, yeah, it's crushed, which doesn't help. See how it's rubbed through there? It's not good. So I think Ron Burgundy's siev's good, so we'll use it. But yeah, you've got to set that. You put plasticine on it, on that, and then bolt your sump on, take it back off, and then check the squish and check and adjust, and then you actually tack weld the pickup to the oil pump so it doesn't float around, because then you lose oil pressure, which is super bad. I don't really see any big flakes of metal or anything silly in there. It's just like grey sludge shit. Yeah, but that's all right. Jesus, that's rough. Anywho, I'm going to get this off because I need it. It should only just be that one big bolt. And then I'll start undoing rod caps, main caps. We'll get the crank ready to lift out, and we'll chuck her up with the bench and have a bow peep. Hopefully, we've got a good usable crank. Even if it needs a linish, I'll linish the fucking thing on the lathe. That's nothing major. I watched, what was it, the Skid Factory done one. Told you what grits and that to do, and I was like, well, I can fucking do that, I'm a machinist. So, I'll probably just linish it here. Hopefully it's all stock. It does have a part number written in texture on the front here. Can I roll it over without the harmonic balancer? No, I definitely can't. All right, well, we might see that a bit better when it's out. All right, so I've got all the main caps off. It's looking really good. Even the bearings look fucking amazing. You can see where the water's gotten into it. There's a little bit of pitting there. So I'm finding a lot of like scum, shit in the bearings. I think this thing done a head gasket. So it's got a lot of like that grey sludge shit. And then like brown rusty sludge in spots as well. So that's not risen or anything. It's just like some surface marring. So I can polish all that out. The one thing I did notice is on the thrust bearing when I pulled it out, it's got that weird chunk taken out of it, which is strange. There's no mark on the crank, and the rest of the bearing looks fine on that little discoloration spot just there. And the rest of the bearings look great. It's already got a rubber rear main seal in it, which is still two-piece. They're traditionally a rope seal. So I think we've got a good crank here. Still got to roll it over and get the crank out, so I undo all the rod caps and that. And then that'll sort of tell me if I'll have enough room to pull the piston out to get to the gudgeon pin. Here's hoping, but from what I'm looking, I don't think so. But we'll see. I'll undo all the rod caps now, get it busted apart, keep them in order. Luckily they're all numbered, all the numbers are in the right spot. We can now see that paint pen thing. I think it's 010H10, maybe? I don't know. I did pop a bearing out. Can I get it back out? The good thing is, like, all the bearings have still got good spring in them too, so they're not all flogged out. And they're all still got their coating on them, which is good. But I got one out. Oh, fucking in your own time, Jesus. I'll get one out and I'll show you. Okay, got the bearing out. And you see the numbers there. And the most prominent one I see is 0.25 US. So I'm guessing this has been machined 25 thousandths under size. So that's a bigger bearing than stock. I'll chase up that part number as well, just to double check. I'll have to measure the crank as well and see if that's still applicable. It should be. So I might get away with just ordering. I could use these bearings, but with that mark in that thrust bearing, and that one's got a bit of a score in it where it's picked something up, I'll just throw a set. The bearings are fucking cheap, really. So I'll just order a set of bearings, work out what that is, and then order another set. So I'm going to get the rods out now. All right, got it out of the block and got to give it a little bit of a white towel down so I can see what's going on, but it all looks pretty good. The only thing I can see is cylinder 1 has picked something up. There's actually like a dent there. I don't know if that was dented on assembly. There's also a score in the rod bearing. Let's walk you back over here. We'll pick a rod bearing up. So yeah, so you can see the mark in the rod bearing there. A bit of a wipe out so you can see a bit more. There we go. That doesn't look recent. That looks like it's been in it for a while. So I'm going to say, when they drop the pistons in, they mustn't have had any like fuel line or something over the studs on the con rods, and they've actually marked that crank there, because that is a high spot too, and it's like a fair whack away around from the oil feed hole. I'm going to say they've marked that when they assembled the engine. Everything else looks pretty good. We've got more numbers. We've got LHB. I rubbed most of that off. And that might be a date maybe. Like the 1st of the 10th, 2000 maybe? Don't know. But it's definitely been rebuilt sometime. Because the bearings are oversized. Actually, I didn't check a rod bearing to see if they were oversized. Let's pop cylinder 1 rod bearing out. I only checked the mains. Maybe they only machined the mains. But who knows? Should just be able to roll this right out of here. Put it in my semi-sanitary working area. Come on, big girl, come out. And we've got a part number. 0.25 US as well, so yeah, the whole thing's 25 thousandths under, which is good. That's good. This fucking hair out of my face. At least now I can measure that, make sure it's still within spec after I chuck it up in the lathe and give it a light linish and get rid of that high spot there. I'll measure it out, get the sizes, and order a new set of bearings, and we've got a good crank. And we've got a whole bunch of good rods, but I only really need one at a stretch. Cylinder 7. So that one there. That cunt there is the one I need. Now, can I pull this back enough to get to the gudgeon pin? Not really. Well, that fucks that idea, don't it? If I could maybe get the circlip out. No, there's still not going to be enough room to get the pin out. Fuck. It means it's head off. I'm going to pull that piston out. It's a lot further into the GMC's engine than I wanted to go, but so be it. So I guess I'll order a VRS kit. I need a gasket kit for the timing case cover and shit anyway. Order bearings, VRS kit with a head gasket. And next time you see it, I'll be installing it into the GMC and hopefully making it run. For now, I'm going to just put all them rod caps back on that, so they're all back in the right spot. There's numbers on the piston, 75 mil, which I'll have to check to make sure that's standard bore. I don't know if they are or not, but whatever, I don't care, because I'm not using the pistons, I'm just using the rod. In theory, I could push that piston out now, punch the gudgeon pin out, and keep the rod that I need, and then put all of this in a crate, which I've got a perfect timber crate left over from the plasma cutter build. Put it all in a crate and call it a day, probably. I managed to upset the forklift. It was running out of LPG, so I flicked it onto fuel. And it hasn't been run on fuel in a long time. And now it's running like a bag of shit. So that's fine. I've actually got the fuel turned off altogether, and it's still running like a whore. Just flick it back to LPG and then turn the bottle off and try and bleed the unleaded out of it. Fucking hell, she plants chaff. Anyway, while that thing's doing whatever the fuck it's doing, we got the block in the crate. I was hoping I'd have enough room to put the heads in there too, but I don't think so. But I should have enough to put all that up there. And the pump and timing case and all that fun stuff. I'm gonna keep, they're the bits I'm gonna keep out of it. Crank bolt just in case, you know, it could be a different thread, both keyways, oil pump, harmonic balancer in case mine's fucked, it shouldn't be though. Piston and rod, I don't really need the piston, but there's no circlip pliers here to get it off. And then obviously the crank. So that's fine. Oh, Lee, I might have to back that thing outside and just let it do its thing. It's filling this place up full of black smoke. Anyway. Alright, we're all crated up, tucked away underneath the saw bench there where it's not going to be in the road. My engine hoist is on loan at the moment, so I can't take the block home because I've got no way of unloading it. So I'll just leave it at the workshop for now in a little crate. Nice and neat. workshop supervisor likes stuff nice and neat and tidy, so I won't mess with him that way. And then we've got a big pile of parts here. Yeah, non-EGR intake, so that's definitely going on. And there's also an EGR blanking plate for the exhaust, so that's sick. I'll delete all that bullshit. Yeah, still got to linish the crank. But that'll do it for now, because it's like 5 o'clock-ish. And I'll start scrounging up some bits. Gonna need a head gasket, DRS kit, and then a set of bearings. So that's cool. I've got to shut this big fucking door now. I'll catch yous in the next segment, part something. Alright, after hours down here in the workshop, working on the crank. So I obviously got to linish it. I've got some wet and dry, Scotch-Brite. That I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that in a minute. But I thought before I linish it, I'll deburr the oil feed holes. So when this crank got ground, they never deburred the oil feed holes, and they're just like a sharp edge. So I'm going through and just giving it a bit of a chamfer on all of them. I've done half the crank already. See? Just so it's not a high, well, not a high spot. Well, not just so it's not a sharp edge, you know. Start having oil feed issues, that sharp edge is going to pick up and just gouge the bearing, and then that bearing material is going to go through the rest of it. It's easier to chamfer them. So, and it's not going to really hurt anything. The amount of surface area you're losing across that doesn't matter. So just going to go through, chamfer all of these. Takes a little bit of fiddling so you don't ding the crank. You don't really want to gouge into the crank webs. You just got to sort of come in nice and gentle, and then just whop, 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 come around. See, I've 45'd the tip of that mounted point. It does flog the mounted points pretty hard, so you've got to keep sort of sharpening. I've got a stick, well, I've got a diamond dresser basically. Just keep shaping the end of the thing. And then, yeah, just go through and pick it. Obviously, I like to flush all the oil journals holes out in the crank, but I'm going to have to do that anyway because I'm linishing it, so it doesn't particularly matter. But you wouldn't want to do this after linishing it, because now you're kicking up all these birds. So let's do it now. Do it once, never have to worry about it again, hopefully. And then I get to set it up in the big old load over there and do a wee bit of linishing. Get these journals looking a little bit prettier. Get some of this surface rust and that off them. This one's got a bit of a ding mark in it. I can take that out though. Oh, look at that. I got her in the lathe clocked up. The tailstock's a little bit out and the spigot bush is a little funny too, so it's about 0.1 out of centre on that, but we're 0-0 on this end. I am just linishing and I'm not machining it, so it doesn't matter too much. You just got to get it pretty close. And we've got load on it, so I can't saw that rotating centre. So now, yeah, that's good. I'm going to cut up my wet and dry. I've got to go and get the WD-40. So I'm basically going to I'm going to cut the buckle off of that belt, and I'm going to cut up strips of my 1200 wet and dry, the width of the narrowest journal basically. And then you wrap the wet and dry around the journal, and then you use that to steer it. So you'll have like a leg coming out here, one on either hand, and then you just sort of push and pull it. So yeah, I'm going to go do that. I've got to find a pair of scissors. Oh, my tool bag's over here. Oh, fuck, we're all over it. Alright, I just had a bit of a quick go at a couple of the journals. So I've done this main, and then I've done that rod. And then, is the camera going to pick it up, sort of the finish difference? So that one's pretty liney. That one not so much, and then the same with the main. I've still got a dark discoloration there. I've got to do a bit more on the edge, but then you compared to that one. Yeah, so do a bit more of that. Now because you're not really taking much material off, it's more flattening out. That's why you're only using wet and dry. So and get some of the striations out of that. It feels much smoother now than that one. So still needs a bit more on the edges. Obviously I've hit the centre a bit more than the edges, but I'll get that. Alright, I've changed tactics a little bit. I'm going to, this is 400 grit emery roll to rough it out, because the wet and dry is good for finishing, but it's not taking a lot of marks out. So I've gone back over and I've 400 at all these. That main, these ones are just there, and you know, it's taken a lot of the black out of it, which is good. That one had a pretty black line towards the back there, where yeah, I can still see a little bit there, but I don't want to take too much of that out. Where the motor that this crank come out, I've done a head gasket, so it had like water and shit sitting in there bearing stuff. That's what all these sort of spider black marks are. It's all compressed water. So we'll keep going through with the 400 grit, and then we'll hit it with 1200. It's pretty smooth. I could probably run it like that, but I'll hit it with 1200 and get it nice and flat, and this thing will be a good thing. It's cleaning up nice around all the chamfers I've done. Like you can see, there's no, if there was a high spot there, there'd be a shinier spot around it, but there's not, so that's good. Yeah, it's cleaning up really nice. I'm super happy with it. And slow and steady wins this race, baby. Spray him down. Loosely loop this over here. With the rod journals, you sort of got to chase it around so you don't polish the cunt like an oval. And I of course didn't put enough WD on that one. You can hear it sort of singing. And if you're worried about the crank webs hitting you in the fingers, make your sandpaper a bit longer. And you've got to sort of walk it in and out so you can get to like new bits of the sandpaper. You want to put a little bit of load on it, but sandpaper's doing the work, so you're just basically chasing it. Basically what they do, but they've got this sandpaper on like a big belt, like a handheld belt grinder, and then they yeah, just hold it on there and she fucking polishes away for you. Real good. You see that coming around? Fucking pretty. This is a good thing. Well, I'll keep going this. You don't need to watch me fucking doing it. It's going to take forever. Alright, this is the one that had the ding in it. The ding's gone. There's still a groove there. The groove's pretty deep. There's not much I can do about the groove. That'll be alright. Yeah, it's coming up pretty good. I'm liking it. Okay, that's it, all polished up. I give it a rough clean up. I used the flexi neck to sort of flush out the holes the best I could for now, and then the dust gun. You can get like little bottle brushes. I'll use them to clean it up, but for now it's going to stay in the lathe until tomorrow because I'm hungry and I want to go home. I'm going to soft seal the shit out of it. This is all nice and pretty now, so I don't want to fuck it up. So soft seal it all up, and then tomorrow I guess I'll dig the block out from underneath the bench and pull some bearings out of that.